All right, let's talk Dallas Cowboys. Look, obviously, we are getting closer and closer to training camp preseason, then finally the regular season. It's starting to get a little bit of exciting down in Dallas. A lot of new additions. Of course, the big name guys like Pickens. You look at a lot of these rookies doing a lot of good things. But there's another under the radar playmaker that's been impressing everyone. And our latest report highlights what this player could bring for Dallas. We'll get to all of that in just 1 second. But first, I'm Nick. That is Andrew. And this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, the Dallas Cowboys have made a lot of quality moves. And look, we've covered them throughout this entire offseason. They've done a great job. And of course, some of the big headline grabbers, you look at, of course, George Pickens being the top of the list, but a lot of really solid football moves across the board. But I think lost in the hustle and bustle of some of these deals and some of these draft picks that stole the limelight was an under the radar addition, a trade for a young cornerback that a lot of people thought was a throwaway, just a random depth piece. And this young guy has been impressing everyone at this point. We're talking about young corner Kyrieshee Elim, and ESPN recently went out and went through each and every single team and said, hey, what's one underrated playmaker that's impressing everyone? And Elim was the guy that they chose for the Cowboys. Let's pull up this report here again, courtesy of ESPN. The Cowboys acquired Kyrieshee Elim in a trade from Buffalo after he was not able to solidify himself with the Bills. The Cowboys had him highly rated when he came to the NFL. A lot of people did. He was a good prospect. He started just 12 games in 3 seasons with only 2 picks, but flashed on numerous occasions in the OTAs and minicamp. He had multiple interceptions and dropped 2 more. He also showed the ability to run with receivers. Maybe things change when the pads come on during training camp, but given the uncertainty the Cowboys have at cornerback with Trayvon Diggs and third-round pick Shavon Ravel Jr. working back with knee injuries, they need Elam to be a factor. Look, Kyrieshee Elim, he was a pretty solid corner coming out of school. I think a lot of people thought he was going to be a good NFL player. Did not work with the Buffalo Bills. And sometimes that happens, right? Sometimes fit, timing, injuries, all these kind of things can happen. Guys just don't forget how to be good football players. And look, I don't know if Elam will live up to his potential or not in Dallas, but sometimes you need a change of scenery. We see this happen all the time. Sam Darnold, for example, quarterback, career left for dead, goes to the Minnesota Vikings last year, has a really nice season, takes them to the playoffs, has a Pro Bowl caliber season, right? This was a guy that looked like a disaster with the New York Jets, famously seeing ghosts. A few years later, spent some time under Sean McVay, goes to the Vikings, good system. What do you know? He puts up good numbers and is a good quarterback. This happens across the board. Where you can fit, a culture that wants you, right? Expectations are managed, a good defensive coach or offensive coach, good teammates, a familiar environment, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's so much about fit. Are you in a good spot for you personally to integrate with what the team's trying to do? And clearly it wasn't working in Buffalo. And based on what Elam is saying so far, he says he's never been in a place in his life that has the energy the new Schottenheimer era Cowboys have. It looks like the feeling is mutual here in terms of being a good fit, right? All the reports are Elam's doing extremely well. You hear this from coaches, you hear this from players, you hear this obviously from the media as well. He was a very high potential guy. If this works out for the Dallas Cowboys, and he doesn't even need to be a superstar, but if he's just a quality corner, this may be the steal of the offseason. There's been a lot of opportunities and a lot of potential steals the Cowboys have made so far. But I think when it's all said and done, when you look at what happened, especially last year at corner, the injuries with Bland, the injuries with Diggs, I think even Jordan Lewis missed a little bit of time, where they just had this cornerback trio of Lewis, Diggs, and Bland. We're like, we're going to be the best cornerback trio in the National Football League. And due to injuries, it just never worked out. Right, they never had a chance, and it's just one of those many things where the promise of 2024 was lost due to injuries and just how things could have gone down. I think going into this season, the injuries are going to rear its ugly head again. Bland is healthy right now. We'll have to see how that shakes out. But Diggs bouncing back from the knee injury. We look at the third-round pick, Revel, like they mentioned. He's got the knee injury, had a setback a few weeks ago. We don't know exactly when and if he can play, right? How good is Kalen Carson, right? A lot of question marks at the cornerback position right now. If Kyrieshee Elim can come in and sort of have a resurgence, it reminds me maybe a little bit of Morris Claiborne in 2016, former Dallas Cowboy corner, was labeled a bust, wasn't working out at all. Then he has kind of a resurgent year in 2016, helps turn his career and salvage something in his career at that point. I think Elim can have that kind of impact, right? Is he going to be an all-pro? I doubt it. Is he going to be a Pro Bowl player? I doubt it. But a good quality corner that can get good playing time and do a good job, it's looking like he can be that kind of guy. And we're working with the Cowboys pass rush with Parsons, of course, Dante Fowler. You look at Oso Odigizua. You look at Williams hopefully coming back. Nealand, I think, has a chance to become a quality player. Of course, you look at the young kid out of Boston College, second-round pick. This is a team that's got a lot of great pass rushers. Eberflus, really smart coach. They're retooled the linebacking core. I like what they're doing there. Corner is going to have to it is not going to be easy. It never is. But there's certainly a lot worse teams to play on where you have to be a corner. I think he's a guy, Elam here is in a situation to succeed. Seems to be a great cultural fit. Every report says that he's doing great. Again, pads have to come on. We have to get through preseason training camp and get into regular season. But the way things look right now for the Dallas Cowboys, this sort of under the radar, forgotten, disregarded, whatever you want to call it, this young player seems to be arriving in Dallas, making a name for himself, and has the potential to be one of the bigger steals the Cowboys have made through the free agency period. I know he was a trade, but we'll call him a free agent in a very, very long time. All right, Miles, I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this. But first, Cowboys fans, in the comment section below, we're talking free agency steals. We're talking about guys that did not have expectations whatsoever that the Cowboys got through free agency or via a trade. And give us your biggest Cowboys free agency steal of all time. What your thoughts were on this. Again, it could be a guy they actually traded for. It could be just a guy they signed. A lot of different options to go. We're not talking undrafted free agents. We're talking about veterans that they picked up from a different team that did big things for the Dallas Cowboys. Give us your favorite veteran steal. Put them in the comment section below. But Mize, let's hear from you about this. What are your thoughts when it comes to Kyrieshee Elim and the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah, Nick, I think the fit is pretty good for Dallas and Elam. And I think Elam's a guy who he's been decent throughout his career, whether you look at college or look at the NFL. Nothing too crazy. You look at that rookie year, he came into Buffalo. He did good. He got like 3 picks that year and, a number of pass breakups as well. The guy, he looked like, maybe he could do something. And it just never really flourished, never really blossomed in the player that they want him to be. Now coming into Dallas, there's a couple of things I like about how he fits into this Cowboys scheme. I think Dallas has really been able to allow corners to be ball hawks, to go after the ball. They've been really successful at that. We see what Trayvon Diggs is able to do. Other guys throughout the past able to allow guys to do that. And I think Kyrieshee Elim is a guy who can do that. He can get some interceptions. He can make turnovers. Do I think he's going to be like a 7, 8, 9 pick guy like Trayvon Diggs? Probably not, but I think he can be acceptable. And another aspect here that I think is really interesting is the Matt Eberflus factor and what Eberflus was able to do in Chicago with Jalen Johnson having 2 absolutely incredible back-to-back years in 2024 and 2023. Everyone remembers 2023, number 1 rated corner in all the NFL per PFF. I think that's going to help Matt Eberflus, whatever he is going in the secondary, on defensive side of things. I think he can really have some insight and help boost these corners up and really get them to a strong situation. So I think that Kyrieshee Elim coming into Dallas in this new Schottenheimer regime with everything going on, he is in a very good situation. And Dallas has a really good player that they could get him for an insane value. If it doesn't work out, not really that big of a deal. Not too much lost here. But if it does work out, there's some potential for this to be, like you said, a steal of epic proportions. A guy to come in, revitalize his career. He's still young. This is going to be his 4th season in the NFL. It's not like this is a guy that's been super washed. No, this guy really is young, moldable. We like to say this on all of our channels all the time, is we always think players are static. You come in, you're, a 74 overall player, Madden grade, and you're never going to, change. It's just, that's what it is. But the fact is, players evolve, players grow, players get better in certain areas. Different schemes work better for different players. And I think for Kyrieshee Elim, for this Dallas Cowboys team, I personally believe they're going to fit together very well. I think this could be a big time get for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, Miles, and I'll leave this with just 2 numbers here. The first one is 24. Like you mentioned, this is a young guy. He's 24 years old, for God's sakes. I had to double check that and look that up just to make sure. This is absolutely bonkers. This is a kid. Again, we don't know how his career will shake out, but at this point, I mean, good Lord, I don't think Quincy Carter had started an NFL game yet when he was 24 years old, right? So again, this is just, we have this weird timeline in today's NFL where, oh my goodness, if you're 23, 24 and you stink, that's it, you're done. And it's like, no, Tony Romo didn't play until he was 26 or however old he was, right? Again, it takes time to develop. We have a very instant results kind of mindset when it comes to these players, but this is a 24-year-old kid that seems to have the opportunity to get better and better and could be a great fit for the Dallas Cowboys. And my second and final number to give you and end this with is 6. That's how many interceptions he got in college at the cornerback position with the Florida Gators. For people who aren't familiar with college football, getting interceptions at the quarterback position is extremely difficult and extremely rare. In the college game, it's the safeties that get picks. In the NFL game, it transitions a little bit to corners, just how the way the game is played, just different kind of mindset, coverages, and offensive schemes and all that. So we're talking about a guy who, like you brought up, could have ball hawking potential in a secondary that's known for having ball hawks. We talk about fit. Seems to work a little bit stylistically with how guys like Bland and Diggs like to play. Again, we'll have to see how it all shakes out when the pads come on, but it's clear right now that everyone in the Dallas Cowboys is excited, including Kyrieshee Elim, by the way, is excited by Elim's arrival in performance with the Cowboys. I tell you what, folks, like you mentioned, this has a chance to be a massive steal for Dallas. Definitely something to keep an eye on as we work our way through training camp and the preseason.